What's going on, everybody? LP here, back at it again with a new vid. Today I got you guys my first iteration of my Gishath Sun's Avatar Commander deck tech. Recently I've been getting a lot back into Magic. I used to play a lot of Magic before, but I never really had my own cards or my own deck to play with. I always borrow from the store owner for my locals, whenever I want to come on a Tuesday night to play some Commander with my friends. But when that episode of Game Nights recently came out with Post Malone, they had it as a guest, that kind of renewed the fun in Magic for me. So I really wanted to build my own Commander deck finally. I've had this thought in my head, but now I actually finally put the cards to paper. After that episode, I've binged a lot of the Command Zone content, a lot of the Game Nights, almost all the episodes, and I've binged so much Command Zone content and how to build your own deck. They just have an excellent platform, an excellent channel. Podcasts about how to build your deck, how to add ramp, how to add card draw, how to sequence your plays, how to make sure your deck follows the proper curve, and make sure it's not going to brick and lose every turn. Make sure you're going to have enough lands to drop, and make sure you're not missing your lands drop. It's just an excellent channel. You guys should definitely check them out. Of course, they'll be linked in the description below. So this is my first full-fledged list. If you guys have any additions, any changes, any critiques you want to add, feel free to let me know down below. This is the first iteration of this deck, like I said, and I'm still fairly new to the card pool. So anything you guys want to add, anything you guys want to say or speak up about, feel free to do so. I'm still looking to upgrade this deck as I go. This is going to be the deck I want to play. But if I want to make this deck better and better, let me know anything you guys want to add. So with that being said, let's get right into the deck tech. Alright, so the deck is built around Gishath Sun's Avatar. This is a 5 Naya, 8 CMC dinosaur avatar that has Trample, Vigilance, and Haste. This card is absolutely insane. I want to build a deck around it because you can build a Dinosaur Tribal deck. And what Dinosaur Tribal means is you can play a whole lot of dinos in your deck to meet the Gishath's attack trigger. Because when this swings and deals combat damage, any damage that you deal, so if you hit it for all 7 damage, you hit it for 5 or 4, you can mill that many cards off the top of your deck. And any dinos you mill, you get to summon for free, which is insane because you get to cheat their mana costs in Commander, which is, provides a lot of board presence and a lot of aggression in this deck. So filling this deck up with a bunch of dinos that you can play and a bunch of dinos that have rewards for casting them too, or for ripping them off the top, not necessarily casting them, is taking advantage of Gishath's ability. So that's why we built this whole tribal deck around. So for our ramp spells, we play, of course, our sorceries like our Rampant Growth, Kodama's Reach, Cultivate, Explosive Vegetation, and Sky Shroud Claim. These all get us land straight from our deck. And then for our artifacts or our mana rocks, we play our Commander Sphere, Mind Stone, Arcane Signet, Selesnya Signet, Gruul Signet, Boros Signet, Prismatic Lens, Thought Vessel, and Soul Ring. So these are all the mana rocks we play. This is a lot of ramp in this deck. The issue with playing a Dinosaur Tribal deck is that a lot of the cards have a high CMC, so being able to ramp efficiently is really key in this deck. A lot of our 2-drop mana rocks are super important in this deck because I can use them early as turn 2, early as turn 1 if I have a turn 1 Soul Ring or any other plays like that. Or I have other creatures that you guys will see later that can produce mana as well. So ramp is super important in this deck, and that's it for the mana rocks. But then for the sorceries, of course we play a couple ramp creatures in Ranging Rappers, Burnished Heart, and Solemn Simulacrum. Solemn is you just get a land for free tapped. Burnished Heart you can sacrifice to get 2 lands, and Ranging Rappers anytime it's dealt damage can fetch you a land, which is really nice because this deck has a sub theme of Enrage. And Enrage means anytime your dinos or any one of your creatures that has that Enrage marker on it is dealt damage, it gets some sort of activated ability. Whether it's add +1/+1 counters, draw a card, get some lands, or deal damage, or create a token, anything like that. As long as we can have those added bonuses of having them on the field and keep getting them pinged for 1 or 2 damage, we can always generate value off of that. We play, of course, Harmonize, which is broken, our Runic Armasaur, and our Rupjaw Raptor as creature card draw. We play our Vanquisher's Banisher and our Staff of Nin for artifact card draw, and then we play the 1 Growing Rights of Eatmalak. This is our only enchantment of the deck. This is technically not card draw, but the way that I use it, where you can just look at the top 4 cards of your deck and still get one to your hand, it's still treated as card draw because it is generating advantage, even though it's a net 0 1-for-1 cause. Our 2 artifacts, Vanquisher's Banner, is insane for tribal decks because anytime you're dropping a dino, you're drawing a card because you're going to declare a dino with it anyway. But anytime you're dropping it and you're drawing that advantage, that can generate so much advantage, especially off a Gishath swing. And then Staff of Nin is a pretty underrated card because 1, it gives you card draw because you get to draw 2 cards at the start of every turn because you have 1 for your upkeep and then 1 for turn. And then also being able to tap to deal 1 damage triggers all your Enrage guys. So any dinosaur with Enrage, you can trigger their ability to draw a card, or you can trigger their ability to add a land, produce a token, anything like that. So being able to trigger Enrage and have card draw makes this card an easy addition. For removal spells, we play white, so we get access to the good ones. For the 1-drops, Path of Exile and Sword of Plowshare. Then we also play Return to Dust, Return to Nature, Vandal Blast. And then for our creatures, we have Thrashing Brontodon, and of course the best dino in the deck, Zakama Primal Calamity. So all of these either deal with creatures or artifacts or enchantments. Either way, some way we can get rid of our opponent's stuff, because if it's being pesky or annoying or they have something that's kind of outvaluing us, we can bring them down a peg so they can play at our level. Because at the end of the day, this is an aggro deck, and we do want to be as fast as we can, but having a bunch of high CMC cards makes it hard to tutor out cards that quickly. So having, cheap ways to deal with our opponent's stuff keeps us at on level or a little bit above them. And then for this section, these are going to be our cheating spells. So these are Kinjali's Caller, Knight of the Stampede, Otpek Huntmaster, Marauding Raptor, Herald's Horn, and Urza's Incubator. All these spells let us take 1 or 2 mana away from the casting cost of our dinos, because cards like Urza's Incubator and Herald's Horn say that we choose a creature type. We're obviously going to choose Dinosaur, and then those cost 1 or 2 less to cast, which are actually really nice, because if you have a high CMC dino like our Commander, who costs 8 CMC, he costs 5 in Anaya. If you have a Urza's Incubator and maybe a Kinjali's Caller out, so now you have Dinosaur spells cost 1 less to cast, and then it costs 2 with Urza's Incubator. So now you're only playing 2 in Anaya for a 7/6. So you're playing 5 CMC for a 7/6, which adds so much value. So these cards are kind of necessary in a tribal deck like Dinosaurs because of that high CMC count. Being able to reduce that at your own will makes your deck a little bit faster. And anything that we can get anything faster, we can turn our Dinosaurs from, 5 CMC to basically a 1-drop if we have a couple of these out, which is actually fairly easy to do. So being able to turn our big dinos into 1-drops provides us with so much advantage in this deck. And then off to our utility cards. Cards like Ephemerate, Aztoken Seer, Drover of the Mighty, and Forerunner of the Empire. Ephemerate just blinks our cards. I think that's a broken card that we get to blink. And any enter the battlefield triggers, like our Regisaur Alphasaur, we get to create 2 tokens with that. Our Aztoken Seer and our Drover of the Mighty are just mana creatures. They can just tap for add mana, and they can add mana of any color, which is really nice to have on a body. And then Forerunner of the Empire triggers our Enrage and also can add his dinos to hand. And then, of course, we get into our actual dinosaurs of the deck. The meat and potatoes, the actual cards we want to hit off Gishath. So for green, we have Snapping Sailback, Apex Allosaur, Polyraptor, Death Scorched Scavenger, Thundering Spineback, Verdant Sun's Avatar, Galta Primal Hunger, and Territorial Allosaur. The card I want to talk about right now is Polyraptor, because anytime Polyraptor meets its Enrage trigger, it gets to create a token. And you can actually create infinite tokens in this deck with Polyraptor plus a Marauding Raptor, because Marauding Raptor says anytime a creature enters the field, you get to ping it for 2 damage. So you ping the Polyraptor token, and because it's the creature that's an exact copy of the original Polyraptor, it has Enrage. It gets pinged, makes another token, and makes another token. Now you have to have another card to make this combo effective, because it pings mandatory. So anytime you ping the Polyraptor and the Polyraptor token for that Enrage trigger, it'll go infinitely, because both of them are mandatory, unless you have a way on the stack of that ping of the Marauding Raptor to activate. If you had a way to blink it out, or a way to destroy your Marauding Raptor or one of the Polyraptors, something like that would stop the infinite combo. Otherwise, you'd be sitting there forever. But yeah, it's pretty infinite. It's a pretty cool combo you can do in this deck. And then for our red creatures, we have Silverclad Ferocidon, Yudaro Wandering Monster, Itali Primal Storm, Rampaging Ferocidon, Charging Monstrosaur, and Burning Sun's Avatar. Rampaging Ferocidon is just it's a stupid card in itself. It was banned from Standard. Itali Primal Storm lets you cast cards from your opponent's library, which is kind of nice because they like the cards and we're like, we're going to use them too. Yudaro's our cycling monster. This card is underrated, Silverclad Ferocidon, because anytime it's pinged for damage, you can make your opponent sacrifice a permanent, so it doesn't target and you're not the one doing it. They have to sacrifice them themselves, so it gets around a lot of different protection plays that they have, like Hexproof. For our white dinos, we're playing Territorial Hammerskull, Bellowing Aegisaur, Zatalta Primal Zon, Gorging Ceratops, Temple Altosaur, and Kinjali Sunwing. Kinjali Sunwing is one of our most insane cards because all of our opponent's creatures enter the battlefield tap. So anytime they have anything with, a tapped ability for their mana ability, or they have a creature with haste, now it can't attack and swing at us because it enters the battlefield tap. So it just gives our dinos, instead of speeding us up, it slows our opponents down, would put us at the same level of them if they're getting out of hand too quickly. Gorging Ceratops gives everything double strike when it attacks, so everything gets to hit twice. And of course the Talpa is the Talpa, being able to just have everything on it, which is stupid. And then our gold dinos, we have Siegehorn Ceratops, Quartzwood Crasher, Raging Sawtooth, and Regisaur Alpha. Regisaur Alpha creates tokens when it enters the battlefield, so you can blink it out and get 3 tokens, or 2 tokens total, so 3 creatures. Raging Sawtooth has its ability to trigger the other enraged triggers on the dinosaurs, because when it enters the battlefield, it deals the 1 damage to everything. These cards are really nice. And then Quartzwood Crasher has our trample, and it can create more tokens. Basically, any way to create more advantage on the board so we can kind of overwhelm our opponents is the main goal of this deck. We play our Command Tower, our Jungle Shrine, Path of Ancestry, and our Unknown Shores. And then for our gray lands, Reliquary Tower, Naya Panorama, Myriad Landscape, Evolving Wilds, and Terramorphic Expanse. These are just cards that tap for either any mana of our Naya colors, and these are cards that help us search out our basics. And then, of course, just for the rest of our basic lands. And then for our basic lands, we play 11 forests, 8 plains, and 7 mountains. And that's it for the deck. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. See you guys in the next one. Peace.